Hey guys, so as you can see today we will be discussing nutrition and pregnancy. So the focus of our video will be quick stats, so statistics on pregnancy rates in the US, the pathophysiology of pregnancy, what women may experience, like the different changes in their bodies throughout, their pregnancy, nutrition, what are some recommended diet and exercise that pregnant women should, be cautious of to implement in their daily, intake, things of that nature. And finally, treatment and management of pregnancy symptoms that you may incur. And without further ado, let's jump right into it. So, we're starting with some quick stats on U.S. pregnancy. These were provided by the CDC Control Center for Disease, and this is for the year 2017. So, the number of births for women in their childbearing years, ages 15 through 44, was 60.3 per 1,000. And then the percent of babies that were born preterm or premature was almost 10%. And then the percent of babies that were born underweight were 8.3%. Millennials, which are people born from 1981 to 1996, are actually a part of the reason why the birth rates are so low. It's actually the lowest it has been in 30 years. It's just a trend. Millennials, they're having kids later and fewer of them. So next we are going to look at the 4 key components, which are what pregnant women should do to promote a healthy pregnancy. The first one we will be discussing is appropriate weight gain. The second is a balanced diet. Third is regular exercise. And lastly, you have vitamin and mineral supplements. For each of these components, we will discuss what it means, the effects of it, how it might affect the woman and her child, and finally the treatment and management for each one of those. And let's get into appropriate weight gain. So the U.S. Department of Agriculture has made it easier to plan meals during pregnancy by having this, system called ChooseMyPlate.gov, and they help, from children to, normal individuals to pregnant women, to the elderly, have and plan healthy meals. Now, for pregnant women in particular, they make it specific to each trimester, and we will get into that later. So, according to the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists, they recommend pregnant women consume about 300 more healthy calories than usual in order to have, a healthy fetus to supplement themselves and the baby. Lastly, the exact number of pounds you should, gain during your pregnancy actually is dependent upon your health beforehand, your body mass, and your body mass index. So let's hop into that right now. So your BMI can be broken up into 4 different categories. The first one is underweight, where you're less than 18.5. Normal is between 18.5 and 24.9. Overweight is between 25 and 29.9. And then obese is when you're greater than 30. Now, your BMI stands for your body mass index, and it is your weight in respect to your height. So when it comes to pregnant women, if you were underweight prior to getting pregnant, you should be gaining more than 30 pounds. If you were normal weight before you were pregnant, you should gain between 25 and 30 pounds. And lastly, if you're overweight or obese, you shouldn't gain any more than 25 pounds. For more accurate numbers, womenshealth.gov suggests that underweight women should gain between 28 to 40 pounds. Normal weight women should gain between 25 to 35 pounds. And then overweight women should gain 15 to 25 pounds. And lastly, obese women should gain no more than 11 to 20 pounds. All right, so for our underweight women, some issues that could occur are the inability to get pregnant, lack of estrogen, lack of caloric intake or high levels of exercise, premature births, and miscarriages. All right, so you may have problems getting pregnant because being underweight causes your body to stop making estrogen, and this could lead to irregular menstrual cycles. You may stop ovulating and getting your period. So, if you're losing weight because you're not eating enough, or you're exercising too much, or a combination of the two, it can actually be signs of an eating disorder such as anorexia nervosa. In order to get pregnant at all, you need to ovulate or release an egg from the ovary so it could be fertilized by sperm. And then your body needs to be able to support a developing baby in your womb. So if you are underweight, you may have troubles doing so. So in order to combat, being underweight and, gaining enough healthy weight in order to, support a baby in your womb, you should eat 5 to 6 small meals every day. You should keep easy snacks on hand, but that are healthy for you and high in protein, such as nuts, raisins, cheese, and crackers, dried fruit, ice cream, and yogurt. You should also utilize peanut butter in your, snacks, meals, and sides. You can put it on toast, crackers, apples, bananas, celery. And the reason why peanut butter is so good for you is because 1 tablespoon of peanut butter gives you about 100 calories and 7 grams of protein. Now, another thing you could do is add non-fat powdered milk to some of your, breakfast foods such as scrambled eggs and hot cereal. And lastly, add extras to your meals. So get that extra, put in that extra butter, spread extra cream cheese, put extra gravy on your mashed potatoes, extra sour cream on tacos and cheese. Now, for overweight women, some issues you might experience is also the inability to get pregnant. Your child might have heart defects. You might get gestational hypertension, gestational diabetes, the and extra weight could make it hard for you to get pregnant because it prevents ovulation. Your ovaries make estrogen, and fat cells also make estrogen. So, as you gain weight, your fat cells grow and release more estrogen, and too much estrogen can sort of substitute birth control, like the pill, the shot, the ring, the IUD. So this can prevent you from ovulating and having a monthly period. And also, if you were to do vitro fertilization, then obesity may lower your chances of getting pregnant with those fertility treatments. So gestational hypertension is high blood pressure during pregnancy, and if you don't control it, then it may lead to a more severe condition called preeclampsia, and that will be discussed later on. Now, gestational diabetes are diabetes that start during your pregnancy. So this just increases your risk to have, diabetes, and have a higher lifetime risk for obesity and type 2 diabetes. And then for the fetus, it can cause low blood sugar. And so the unborn babies might be larger, which could injure the baby or mother during, delivery and birth. Now, with that being the case, with the difficulties of having birth, this may increase your risk for, undergoing a C-section, where they have to, cut open the stomach, opposed to you giving birth to the baby vaginally. To combat obesity before and during pregnancy, these are a few recommendations. So another one additionally is when you, decide to eat fast food, choose lower fat items such as broiled chicken, sandwich with tomatoes and lettuce, no sauce, side salads with low fat dressing, just basically eating everything plain, like no cream cheese on your bagel, no cheese and sour cream on your baked potato. Avoid other fattening foods such as French fries, mozzarella sticks, or breaded chicken patties as well. Now, you need at least 4 servings of milk products every day. So, what I mean by avoiding whole milk products, using skim milk 1% or 2%, instead, and then choosing low fat or fat free cheese and yogurts. um, Sweetened drinks like pop, soft drinks, fruit punch, fruit drinks, iced tea, lemonade, powdered mixed drinks, anything like that, you should completely omit. They have so many empty calories, and instead, what you should consume more of is water, which you should be doing anyway, club soda or mineral water. Next, you should reduce your salt intake. Do not add salt to foods when cooking because salt causes you to retain the water in your body. Another thing is to limit sweets and high calorie snacks like cookies, candies, donuts, cakes, syrup, honey, chips. They have a lot of calories and very, very small nutritional benefit. And I know pregnant women tend to have cravings and things of that nature, but try not to eat those foods every day. Some alternatives could be fresh fruit, um, pretzels, and just, low fat and low calorie, dessert choices. So, in the same way that we cut out the salt, you need to, consume fats in moderation as well. Fats can include anything from cooking oils to butter and margarine to gravy, to sauces, mayonnaise, salad dressings, sour cream, cream cheese, things of that nature. So a good alternative would just be the lower fat alternatives of those. And lastly, you need to cook food in a healthier way. Fried foods are a no. Instead, you should be baking, broiling, grilling, and boiling. And those are healthier preparation methods that you could, implement. Alrighty, so next we're going to discuss the second key component, which is a balanced diet. And we're going to talk about how does my plate work in terms of how does it determine, what pregnant women should eat during each trimester. And then we're going to discuss the 5 food groups and, some recommendations on what to eat from those 5 food groups, and then the benefits of, eating those and how it affects the pregnancy. And then lastly, we're going to talk about foods you should avoid while you are pregnant. So, in order to calculate, what you should be eating, your meals that you should be planning out, and the recommendations, what my plate does is give you a personalized nutrition and exercise plan. So, the information that you need to input is your height, your pregnancy weight, your due date, and then the weekly exercise that you do. And then with all those together, every trimester they will give you, your own personalized nutrition and exercise plan. So your 5 food groups are grains, fruit, vegetables, proteins, and dairy. Oils and fats could be included as well, but that's not our focus right now. So with grains, the recommended, foods to eat are ready to eat cereal and hot cereal. So in other words, oatmeal. And then for our fruits, you should eat apricots, bananas, cantaloupe, honeydew, grapefruit, tomatoes, prunes, mangoes, oranges, things like that. For our proteins, you should be consuming beans, peas, nuts, seeds, leaf beans, lamb, pork, poultry, salmon, trout, sardines, and herring. And then with our vegetables, you should be consuming carrots, pumpkin, leafy greens, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, sweet potatoes, and red sweet peppers. And then lastly, for dairy, you should be consuming skim milk 1%, soy milk, fat free yogurt, and then low fat yogurt. So, as you can see, grains and fruit, the benefits of eating grains and fruit is the potassium. For vegetables, is vitamin A is also included. For proteins, the amino acid is what's the benefit, and then for dairy, it's almost everything. You have your calcium, potassium, vitamin A, and vitamin D. So now for potassium, potassium is one of the most important minerals in the body. What it does is it helps regulate fluid balance, muscle contractions, and nerve signals. And then additionally, a high potassium diet may help reduce blood pressure and water retention, and also protect against stroke and prevent osteoporosis and kidney stones. Now, with vitamin A is a fat soluble vitamin and it's naturally present in a great amount of food. It's also important for your vision, your immune system, and for reproduction. And then it also helps your heart, lungs, kidneys, and a lot of other organs to work properly. Now for the amino acids. So the amino acids in your body, they help to build muscles. They cause chemical reactions in your body. They transport nutrients, prevent illness, and they carry out, so many other functions. So calcium is a total necessity for your life in general. So, what calcium does is build your bones and keep them healthy. It enables your blood to clot. It allows for your muscles to contract and your heart to beat. About 99% of the calcium in your body is in your bones and teeth. And if that's how it works for us, then of course that is important for the health of the fetus in its role. Now, vitamin D and calcium goes hand in hand. So without your vitamin D, your body cannot absorb the calcium to promote the bone growth. And then a lack of vitamin D might result in weak and soft bones for the baby, and which could be really, brittle, fragile, misshapen, things of that nature. And then you also need vitamin D for other, important body functions. So now let's move on to the foods you should avoid during your pregnancy. First being alcohol. Second is deli meats like bologna, lunch meat, just things of that nature. Third is unpasteurized milks and cheeses. And lastly is undercooked seafood. So with alcohol, what could happen is FAS, also known as fetal alcohol syndrome. With the unpasteurized milk and cheeses, it increases your chance of getting an infection from bacteria. When it comes to deli meats, listeria is one of the things you could contract. And lastly, in certain seafoods, there are high levels of mercury, which has been attributed to birth defects. The severity of FAS varies case by case for each child, but most of them may include any mix of physical defects, intellectual or cognitive disabilities, and problems functioning and coping with, daily life. So, some physical defects could include distinctive facial features like small eyes, thin upper lip, short upturned nose, deformities of the joints, limbs, and fingers, slow physical growth, vision and hearing problems, small head circumference and brain size, and then heart defects and problems with your kidneys and bone. Now, brain And central nervous system problems could include like very poor coordination, intellectual disability, learning disorders, poor memory, difficulty with, identifying consequences of their actions, difficulty with reasoning, poor judgment, and hyperactivity. And there's social and behavioral issues that can happen is difficulty in school, not being able to get along with other children, trouble adapting and switching from one task to the other, and then a poor concept of time. Bacterial infections in general can just really weaken your immune system, and one of those, foodborne infections is caused by listeria, which is a type of bacteria, and that leads to an infection called listeriosis. And then the majority of people who have it, um, it can be a serious infection, and the symptoms can include a headache, stiff neck, confusion, loss of balance, and convulsions. And lastly, if you find, high levels of mercury in your seafood, it can harm your developing child's brain. And so if you come in contact with it, it can damage a lot of parts of your bodies, including your lungs, kidneys, and nervous system. And then it can also cause hearing and vision problems. Now, the next key component is regular exercise. So, now we're going to discuss the type of exercises that are recommended for pregnant women, the benefits of those exercises, and how it affects you and the fetus, and then finally, the effect on the delivery of the fetus um, when you do those exercises, and it could potentially induce labor, impact the delivery and the recovery. So, there are a lot of exercises that are recommended for pregnant women, but today we're just going to focus on three: yoga, swimming, and squats. But for reference, other exercises included could be brisk walking and stationary cycling. Now, with prenatal yoga classes, they help to keep your joints limber and, help you be flexible. Yoga actually strengthens muscles, stimulates blood circulation, and enhances relaxation, which means that um, women tend to have a healthy blood pressure during pregnancy when they do yoga. And then in labor, the techniques you learn in yoga can help you stay calm and in control during labor. In fact, the cow pose is highly recommended. So now on to squatting. So during labor, squatting can help, open your pelvis. So it's a good idea to practice it during pregnancy as well. And it also strengthens your abdominal muscles and help reduce your back pain. And lastly, we have swimming. So, swimming is an exercise that offers relief from, the extra weight of pregnancy because of the buoyancy offered by the water. Now, by doing these exercises and doing them regularly, you can shorten your labor process, increase your chances of not having to be medicated during the birth of your child, speeding up your recovery, reducing the risk of gestational diabetes and hypertension, decrease the likelihood of preterm labor and birth, and then finally your baby would have an improved stress tolerance and advanced neurobehavioral maturation. All right, you guys, now we're in the home stretch. Now we're going to talk about your vitamin and mineral supplements that pregnant women need. The top four are folic acid, iron, calcium, and vitamin D. So we're just going to, explain what each one is, what it does, and finally the effect on the pregnancy if you lack it. And without further ado, let's begin. So, folic acid is a type of B vitamin that is found in foods such as dried beans, peas, oranges, whole wheat products, asparagus, Brussels sprouts, beef, broccoli, and spinach. The role of folic acid is helping your body produce and maintain new cells and also helps prevent changes to DNA that may lead to cancer. And then, if you lack folic acid during your pregnancy, there will be major birth defects of the fetal brain and spine called neural tube defects. Next up to bat is iron. Iron is a mineral found in animal foods that originally contain hemoglobin, such as red meats, fish, and poultry. Um, Iron helps your body make more blood to supply oxygen to your fetus, and then the lack of it can cause, a miscarriage if the fetus isn't getting enough oxygen, but also anemia, which makes you feel tired and weak, resulting in a premature baby as well. And one of our favorites that we've constantly seen throughout this video is calcium. Calcium is a mineral found in milk and other dairy products such as yogurt and cheese, and it's used to build the fetus's bones and teeth. It helps blood vessels move blood throughout the body and help releases hormones and enzymes that affect almost every single function of your body. Hence why earlier I stated that you basically need calcium to live. And then the lack of it can cause hypocalcemia, and that is a long term deficiency that can lead to dental changes, cataracts, alterations in the brain, and osteoporosis, which are the weak and brittle bones. And last but not least, we have vitamin D. So, vitamin D is a group of fat soluble corticosteroids responsible for increasing intestinal absorption of calcium. So, vitamin D and calcium they go hand in hand. Magnesium and phosphate as well. And then the sources of it, well, the main sources are sun and milk. So, it works, like I stated, it works with calcium to help the fetus's bones and teeth develop, and it's also essential for healthy skin and vision. And then, if you lack vitamin D, it could cause preeclampsia, low birth weight, neonatal hypocalcemia, poor postnatal growth, bone fragility, and increased incidence of autoimmune diseases. Alrighty, so what's next in future research is the environmental, factors that contribute to the nutrition and health of the fetus during the pregnancy. So some of the top ones that are being evaluated are cigarettes and lead. So similarly to the way that they identify what foods have, um, potential cause for defects in the baby, like the mercury in the seafood. It's the same thing for substance abuse. So right now, cigarette is at the top of the list slash, tobacco, and then following that is opioids, marijuana, and alcohol. Screening is now recommended for pregnant women in terms, well, for lead, and it has been shown to affect IQ, ability to pay attention, academic achievement, and things of that nature. And another thing about lead is that lead exposure cannot be corrected. So, just for a recap, please remember the four key components to promoting and having a healthy pregnancy. The first is appropriate weight gain, two is a balanced diet, three is regular exercise, and four is vitamin and mineral supplements. Now, when it comes to appropriate weight gain, make sure you look at your BMI before you get pregnant and determine where you fall and take, the necessary steps in order to achieve a healthy weight for your pregnancy, and make sure you're doing so. For your balanced diet, make sure you take a look at all the recommended foods from each of the five food groups. and then implement them into your diet because the benefits are, potassium, calcium, vitamin A, and vitamin D, and amino acids, which are all essential to, the functioning of your body and the babies and the development of the baby during your pregnancy. Three, regular exercise. We recommended three, which is prenatal yoga, swimming, and squatting. There are plenty of other ones you could, engage in order to, the ease your labor process, ease your recovery, and just overall promote better neurobehavioral maturation in the baby. And lastly, you have your vitamins and minerals. Pregnant women need a higher dosage of folic acid, iron, calcium, and vitamin D. So if those are not being, supplemented in your diet, it is recommended that you take them as supplements. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.